Your soul signed a contract before you were born. Long before you took your first breath, before your heart beat for the first time in your mother's womb, something extraordinary happened. Something sacred, something forgotten the moment you entered this world. There was a time before time, a space beyond human comprehension, where your soul stood in the presence of the divine. And in that space, with complete clarity and purpose, your soul signed a contract. This wasn't a contract made with fear or obligation. It wasn't drafted by the hands of fate or coerced by cosmic authority. No, this was a choice, deliberate and profound. Your soul, in its infinite wisdom, agreed to come here, to this world, at this precise moment in history. It chose your family, your struggles, your gifts, your wounds. It chose the people you would meet, the heartbreaks you would endure, and the victories you would one day rise into. You didn't arrive here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are not a random collection of atoms stumbling through life. You are the fulfillment of a promise made by your soul. But here's the paradox. When we're born, we forget. We forget what we agreed to. We forget why we came. The pain feels like punishment. The detours seem unfair. The people who hurt us appear as enemies. And so we begin to question everything. Our worth, our path, even the existence of purpose itself. But what if none of it is as random as it seems? What if your suffering, your longing, your confusion are all part of the plan your soul once embraced? This speech is not a doctrine. It is not a sermon, nor is it an attempt to impose belief. It is an invitation, a gentle calling to remember what your soul already knows. Because hidden beneath the chaos of your daily life, there is a deeper rhythm playing, a melody only your soul can hear. And once you begin to listen again, everything starts to change. You begin to see that the pain had a purpose. The losses held lessons. The delays were protection. You recognize the people in your life not as accidents, but as teachers, some kind, some cruel, but all necessary. You start to see that your soul wasn't here just to survive. It was here to grow, to transform, to awaken something sacred within this human experience. So today, I want to take you on a journey, not into the future, but into the past. Not to change what has happened, but to remember why it had to happen. I want to help you see that your soul is not confused. It is not broken. It is simply waiting for you to remember the contract. The one it signed with love. The one it signed for you. The hidden agreement, before the beginning began. There is a truth so ancient, so deeply embedded in your being, that even though you may have forgotten it, it continues to shape your life with unwavering precision. Before you ever had a name, before you had a body, before you opened your eyes to this world, your soul existed in a space that knows no fear, no doubt, no confusion. In that sacred realm, call it heaven, eternity, the spirit world, your soul was whole, free, and aware. And it was there that a decision was made. A promise was spoken. A contract was signed. Not in ink, not on paper, but with light, with vibration, with an understanding far deeper than language can express. This was not a moment of hesitation or uncertainty. It was an act of profound courage. You see, to come here, to take on human form, to step into a life where pain, loss, and limitation are guaranteed, that requires more bravery than we often give ourselves credit for. Your soul knew that this world would challenge you. It knew that you would forget who you were. It knew that the path would not always be clear, but it also knew what you were capable of becoming. This contract, this sacred agreement, was not about control or punishment. It wasn't about suffering for the sake of suffering. It was about growth, transformation, awakening. Your soul chose a path, not a fixed destiny, but a framework of experience that would guide your evolution. It selected the perfect conditions to activate your potential, the right parents to teach you lessons you needed, even if those lessons came through hardship, the exact challenges that would force you to break open, only to discover that your strength was always waiting on the other side of that pain. Some people hear this and feel resistant. Why would I choose this? They ask. Why would I choose abandonment, trauma, illness, or failure? And those questions are valid, deeply human, and honest. But they are asked from the perspective of the mind, the part of you that is wired to avoid discomfort, to seek certainty, to stay safe. Your soul, however, does not operate from fear. It operates from expansion. It does not fear suffering. It understands that suffering can be a doorway, one that leads you back to your truth. The contract your soul signed was not about living an easy life. It was about living a meaningful one. And here's what's beautiful. Even the forgetting was part of the agreement. You agreed to forget so that remembering could become sacred, so that your return to truth would be earned through experience, not inherited by default. The confusion, the doubt, the darkness, all of it creates the contrast necessary for the light to mean something. If you remembered everything from the start, you would never appreciate the profound joy of rediscovery. The most powerful awakenings don't happen because someone told you who you are. They happen when, after wandering for what feels like forever, you suddenly recognize yourself in the mirror of your own pain. This hidden agreement is not about predestination. You are not a puppet dancing to the strings of fate. The contract you signed simply laid the foundation. The choices have always been yours. You are free to walk away from your purpose. You are free to numb yourself, to run from your pain, to deny your calling. But the contract will keep whispering. Life will keep calling you back. The same lessons will repeat in different forms until you finally understand. And even that is not punishment, it is grace. Because your soul refuses to give up on you. There are moments in life, quiet, unexplainable moments, when something deeper stirs. You meet someone and feel like you've known them forever. You visit a place and feel an ancient familiarity. You go through a hardship and, afterward, feel more like yourself than you ever did before. These are not coincidences. These are echoes of the contract, reminders from your soul, signposts on your journey. In those moments, you are closer to the original agreement than you realize. Every soul has a unique contract. Some are here to lead, some to serve, some to heal, others to challenge, to disrupt, to awaken. Some contracts involve hardship so that compassion can be born. Others involve isolation so that inner strength can be remembered. But no contract is more sacred than another. No path is more important. What matters is not the form it takes, but whether or not you are listening. Whether or not you are honoring the calling that your soul carefully chose for you before you were even born. You may be wondering now, how do I know what my contract is? And the answer is not found in a book, a ceremony, or a title. It is found in your life. Look closely at the patterns that repeat, the passions that keep resurfacing, the people you attract, and the wounds that beg to be healed. Your soul leaves breadcrumbs. It sends dreams, synchronicities, intuitions. It is always speaking, but are you still enough to hear it? The hidden agreement doesn't demand perfection. It invites awareness. It asks only that you stop pretending your life is random, that you stop thinking your suffering is meaningless, that you stop waiting for someone outside yourself to explain your worth. You were chosen. But more importantly, you chose. You signed up for this human experience. You agreed to walk through fire because your soul knew the fire wouldn't destroy you. It would refine you. So take a moment now to sit with that. Let it settle into the bones beneath your skin. You are not a mistake. You are not lost. You are not late. You are exactly where your soul agreed to be. And once you begin to live with that awareness, the chaos starts to make sense. The pain becomes a teacher. The confusion becomes an initiation. And your life begins to align, not with the expectations of others, but with the deeper rhythm of your own soul's truth. This is the hidden agreement. And even if you have forgotten it, it has never forgotten you. Why you chose pain, loss, and detours. If your soul signed a contract before you were born, then the pain you've experienced, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the moments that brought you to your knees, were not meaningless. They were not punishment, nor cruel accidents thrown your way by a careless universe. They were part of the agreement. And more than that, they were chosen. This idea can be uncomfortable, even offensive, to a mind trained to avoid suffering at all costs. Why would anyone choose to suffer? Why would a soul, full of divine intelligence and infinite love, agree to walk through sorrow, betrayal, illness, or loneliness? But the answer, though hard to accept, is rooted in one timeless truth. Your soul chose evolution over comfort. It chose growth over ease. It chose the fire because it knew what the fire would make of you. Pain strips away illusion. It burns through ego. It breaks the false stories we've clung to for far too long. It humbles the parts of us that thought we were in control, and it awakens the parts of us that are eternal. You don't have to like the pain. You don't have to celebrate it. But when you begin to understand it, when you start to see it as a sacred tool for remembering your own strength, you begin to transform it. Suddenly, pain isn't the end of the story. It becomes the catalyst for a deeper beginning. Look back at your life for a moment. Think about the most painful seasons you've endured. Chances are, those moments changed you more than the calm, easy days ever did. Maybe it was a loss that cracked open your heart and taught you empathy. Maybe it was failure that destroyed your pride and made space for purpose. Maybe it was rejection that forced you to turn inward and meet yourself for the first time. Pain, when we stop resisting it, becomes the guide we never knew we needed. Now understand this. Your soul didn't choose pain as a form of punishment. It chose it as a mirror. A mirror that reveals what still needs to be healed, remembered, or reclaimed. That heartbreak you thought would destroy you? It was showing you how deeply you are capable of loving. That job loss that made you question everything? It was pushing you toward your true calling. That betrayal that left you shattered? It was teaching you boundaries, self-worth, and discernment. Each wound contained wisdom. Each scar holds a story, and none of them are meaningless. The detours too. Oh, how we hate them. We plan, we build, we expect things to go a certain way. And when life redirects us, we panic. We assume we've failed, that we've gone off track. But what if the detour is the path? What if the delay, the setback, the closed door, is exactly what your soul needed to lead you to something greater? Sometimes what feels like failure is simply a divine rerouting. Sometimes the road you didn't plan to walk reveals a strength you didn't know you had. The truth is, your soul doesn't operate on a human timeline. It doesn't measure success by status, money, or perfection. It measures success by depth, by how fully you show up, by how willing you are to feel, to learn, to surrender. And it knows that pain is one of the fastest ways to break you open so that the truth can pour in. That's why it's in the contract. But let me be clear, not every painful thing that happens is something your soul orchestrated directly. We live in a world of free will, where people have the power to act from their own wounds and darkness. Your soul didn't choose abuse. It didn't choose injustice. It didn't want cruelty. But it did choose to come into a world where those things exist, and it chose to grow through them. It chose to turn that darkness into light, to take the worst things that ever happened to you and alchemize them into strength, compassion, wisdom, and purpose. You are not here to bypass pain or pretend it doesn't hurt. You're here to move through it, with eyes open, heart open, and soul intact. You're here to feel it fully, and then rise anyway. Because rising is what your soul came here to do. And the fire you've walked through? It was never meant to consume you. It was meant to awaken you. Pain will come. That much is certain. But suffering is not the final destination. It's a bridge. And what waits on the other side is not bitterness or emptiness. It is clarity. It is resilience. It is a self that knows its own worth because it was tested, not because it was protected. So if you're walking through something heavy right now, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it. Ask it what it came to teach you. Ask your soul why it chose this experience. And then listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. The answers may not come all at once. But trust me, they are there. You didn't come here to live a painless life. You came here to live a powerful one. And every time you rise from the ashes, every time you choose love over bitterness, every time you turn your wounds into wisdom, you fulfill a piece of that sacred contract. You become more of who you truly are, not just a human surviving the day, but a soul remembering its light. You chose this, not because you were weak, but because you are strong beyond belief. You chose this path because your soul is not afraid of breaking, only of forgetting. And even if you've forgotten for a while, even if you've doubted, run, resisted, it's okay. The contract hasn't expired. The path hasn't closed. The next chapter is always waiting to be written. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. And though its lessons are hard, they are holy. Your soul knew that. Your soul still knows. The people in your life were meant to be there. One of the most powerful, and perhaps most challenging, truths about your soul contract is this. The people in your life were never accidents. Not the ones who loved you unconditionally. Not the ones who abandoned you. Not the ones who inspired you, or the ones who wounded you. Each person you've encountered, in some way, is part of the story your soul agreed to live. They are characters in the play. Some came to stay, some came to shake you, and some came only to leave. But all of them came for a reason. Before you were born, your soul didn't just choose a path. It chose companions. Soul allies. Spiritual contracts between souls are real, and they are written not with words, but with energy. You and those closest to you, parents, siblings, partners, friends, even enemies, you all made an agreement before coming into this world. A soul-level promise. I will meet you in the human experience, and we will help each other grow. Now, that growth doesn't always come wrapped in kindness. Some souls enter your life to love you so deeply that they remind you of what it feels like to be seen. Others enter to challenge you, to test you, to mirror your shadows so clearly that you have no choice but to evolve. Some break your heart to awaken your power. Others walk away so you can learn to stand alone. And while your mind may call some of these relationships mistakes, your soul knows better. Your soul remembers the agreement. Let's begin with the ones who made you feel safe, the souls who showed you unconditional love. These are often people you've shared many lifetimes with. There's an immediate familiarity in their presence, a quiet peace you can't explain. You might say, "It feels like I've known you forever." That's because, in a sense, you have. These people come to anchor you, to remind you of your essence. They are your support beams, the ones who hold space for your unfolding. They don't demand you to be someone else. They simply see who you already are. Their love is not earned. It's recognized. But then there are the others. The ones who tested your boundaries, triggered your deepest wounds, or shattered your trust. These people are harder to understand. It feels unfair to think you might have chosen them. But at a soul level, you did, not because you wanted the pain, but because you needed the growth. These souls often take on the role of sacred antagonists. They don't come to destroy you, but to push you toward healing. Their presence forces you to confront the very things you've avoided. They awaken your strength, your voice, your worth, not by being kind, but by being exactly who they are. This isn't about justifying abuse or excusing cruelty. It's not about staying in toxic relationships under the illusion that they're meant to be. Boundaries are spiritual. Walking away can be a sacred act. But even when you leave someone behind, the lesson they brought into your life remains a part of your contract. They fulfilled their role. And now, you fulfill yours by choosing what's healthy, what's true, what's aligned with your growth. Some of the most intense soul contracts are with family members. These relationships are often loaded with karmic patterns, lessons that span lifetimes. You didn't randomly end up with the parents you have. Your soul chose them, even if they failed you, even if they weren't capable of giving you what you needed. Their presence catalyzed something in you. Maybe they showed you what love is not, so you could seek what love truly is. Maybe they withheld validation, so you could learn to validate yourself. The pain of your childhood may have opened the door to your purpose. And then there are soulmates, not just romantic ones, but kindred spirits. People who enter your life with a clear sense of mission. Sometimes, their presence is brief, but impactful. They appear just when you're about to give up, just when you need a push, a mirror, a sign. They don't always stay, but their timing is perfect. And even their departure can be divine. Some people are here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And all three serve a purpose. What's important to understand is this. The soul contracts you've made with others are not about comfort. They're about evolution. That person who broke you, they didn't do it alone. Your soul allowed it. Not because you deserved it, but because your healing was waiting on the other side. Your empowerment, your voice, your independence, it was waiting for you to remember who you were without them. And sometimes, that remembering only happens after everything falls apart. It's also worth remembering that you've played this role in other people's lives. You have been someone else's lesson. You have been the one who left, the one who said no, the one who triggered, who disappointed, who awakened something difficult in another person. And that, too, was sacred. We are not here to play only the roles of heroes and healers. Sometimes, we are the catalyst. Sometimes, our presence in someone's story is a turning point. Not because we were perfect, but because we were real. So if you're carrying bitterness, if there's someone in your life whose presence haunts you with unresolved pain, ask yourself, what did my soul come here to learn through them? What mirror did they hold up for me? What part of my own power did they force me to reclaim? And even if you never receive an apology, even if they never change, you can still free yourself. You can bless the lesson and move on. Forgiveness is not permission, it's liberation. The people in your life were not random. They were part of the plan. Your soul chose them, and theirs chose you, in ways you may never fully understand. You are connected by threads that go beyond this lifetime. And every interaction, every bond, every fracture plays a role in your becoming. You're not alone. You never were. Even the loneliest seasons of your life were crowded with soul-level agreements quietly unfolding. And when you begin to see people not just as personalities, but as participants in your awakening, everything shifts. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What am I meant to remember through this?" You didn't come here to walk alone. You came with a cast. Some roles will break your heart. Others will mend it. But each one is part of the sacred story your soul came here to live. And in remembering that, you begin to live your life with a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and power. Remembering your soul's mission. So here we are. You've remembered that your soul signed a contract, that your pain had purpose, that the people who came and went, those who blessed you and those who broke you, were all part of a larger agreement. And now, you're standing at the most important crossroad of all, the moment you remember why you came. Because all of this, the hardship, the healing, the patterns, the echoes of forgotten truths, was never random. It was all leading you back to your mission. Your soul's mission. Not the job you were told to want. Not the title that made you feel important. Not the version of success the world applauds. But the deeper calling your soul whispered to you before you ever arrived on Earth. The reason you chose to come here in the first place. Let me say something clearly. Your mission is not something outside of you. It's not something you have to go find. You don't need to climb a mountain, move to another country, or wait for a lightning bolt of clarity. Your mission is encoded within you. It's not what you do, it's who you are. It lives in your voice, in your energy, in the way you show up when you're honest, unguarded, and fully alive. Your soul's mission is the essence you bring into every room, every conversation, every moment. Some people are here to bring light into dark places. Others are here to stir the waters, to challenge illusions, to awaken sleeping minds. Some are here to nurture, to build, to create, to heal. And some are here to destroy what no longer serves, to burn down old systems so that something more true can rise in its place. But here's the thing. You don't choose your mission with your mind. You remember it with your soul. And the remembering often comes not in clarity, but in longing. Have you ever felt a pull you couldn't explain? A restlessness that no achievement could satisfy? A quiet knowing that you were made for something more? That's the voice of your soul calling you back to your contract. And it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be grand. You don't need a stage to live your mission. Sometimes your mission is found in the way you love your children, or in the kindness you extend to strangers, or in the way you hold space for someone else's pain without judgment. Sometimes your mission is simply to be a presence of peace in a chaotic world, to live with such integrity, such authenticity, that others are reminded of their own truth just by being around you. But for others, the mission may be to lead, to speak, to create, to fight for justice, to teach what they've learned through fire and loss. Your soul's mission is always aligned with your deepest wounds, because that's where your power lives. The things that broke you often reveal what you were born to heal, not just in yourself, but in others. Your story isn't your shame. It's your offering. Still, many people spend years trying to escape their mission, because to live it requires courage. It requires leaving behind the false identities you were taught to wear. It asks you to stop pleasing, performing, pretending. It requires you to listen, not to the world, but to your own knowing. And that knowing is quiet. It doesn't shout. It waits patiently. But once you tune in, once you remember what you agreed to long ago, your life begins to shift. Things start falling away. People leave. Doors close. And it might feel like everything is breaking apart. But what's really happening is that your life is being realigned to serve your mission. You don't need to be perfect to live your purpose. You just need to be honest. The universe doesn't need more people trying to look like they have it all together. It needs people who are real. People who are willing to show up, raw and unpolished, and say, "This is what I've been through. This is what I've learned. This is what I'm here to give." You don't need to know all the steps. You just need to take the next one. And if you feel lost, that's okay. Lost is often the first step of remembering. The darkness is not your enemy. It's the space where truth is reborn. Trust it. Let it strip you of what no longer fits. Let it burn away the masks. Because what remains, when all the illusions are gone, is your soul. And your soul remembers. So ask yourself now, What have I always known deep down? What keeps calling me back when I try to walk away? What breaks my heart wide open? What do I feel born to speak, create, protect, nurture, or change? These are not surface-level questions. These are invitations. Invitations to return to the contract your soul signed, the one you made with Source, the one you've always carried in your bones. You are not late. You are not behind. You haven't missed it. Your mission is not a deadline. It's a lifetime. And even now, with all your detours, your doubts, your scars, your delays, you are right on time. Everything you've been through was preparation. Every fall taught you how to rise. Every silence taught you how to listen. Every loss cleared space for your deeper self to emerge. Your soul didn't come here to play small. It didn't come to merely survive. It came to remember, and then to embody, the light it carried before it ever had a name. That's your mission. Not a task, not a title, but a way of being. A truth you live. A legacy you leave behind without even trying. Just by being fully, unapologetically you. And when you live from that place, when your choices reflect your inner knowing, when your life becomes an extension of your soul's truth, then you're not just fulfilling a contract. You're becoming a force, a light in this world, a living reminder to others that they, too, have a purpose, that they, too, are here for a reason. This is the final piece of the journey, to remember your mission and to live it, not with fear, but with faith, not with striving, but with surrender, not by being someone else, but by returning to who you've always been. Because your soul didn't just come to earth with a contract. It came with a calling. And now, it's time to answer it.